Hello, my name's Lindsey from Little Stars Nursery and welcome to our first bedtime story on the Stone Channel. Tonight's story is all about a very kind lady who lives in Apple Pie Lane. We love her because she rescues hedgehogs, tells great stories and makes the world's tastiest rock cakes and ginger beer. But grumpy Mr Snodgrass thinks it's time she lives somewhere else. This story is called Miss Kettlepops and the Hedgehog Hullabaloo, written by Lindsey Randal, illustrated by Jim Kirkwood. Hello, my name is Isabel and my brother's name is Harry. We live in Apple Pie Lane. The best thing about Apple Pie Lane is Miss Kettlepops. Miss Kettlepops lives in the cottage next to the stream and she's in charge of the Hedgehog Hullabaloo, a rescue centre for hedgehogs. We love hedgehogs, especially when Miss Kettlepops lets us wear her special gloves to pick them up and feed them. When the hedgehogs are strong enough, we go with Miss Kettlepops into her garden and set them free. Afterwards, we celebrate with a drink of homemade ginger beer and rock cakes. Miss Kettlepops often tells us wonderful stories. Harry's favourite is how Miss Kettlepops became so fond of hedgehogs. One day, she found a spiky little fellow stuck down her drain. She lifted him out and named him Pointy Pete. She adored the little chap and he never left her garden. From the day she found him, she knew her cottage would be a safe haven for hedgehogs. Recently, though, a note dropped through our letterbox. It said,
"Dear residents, Miss Kettlepops and the horrid hedgehogs must leave Apple Pie Lane. The cars that keep coming into our road to drop them off are a nuisance. Yours truly, Mr Snodgrass."
Only one person in Apple Pie Lane dislikes the Hedgehog Hullabaloo. His name is Mr Snodgrass and he owns the Snooty Fox pub. He says that hedgehogs are squeaky and smelly. Harry and I gasped at the note. We went around and showed it to Miss Kettlepops. "Right," she said, "we'll see about this." And she began to write a reply. "Dear Mr Snodgrass, I challenge you to a ginger beer and rock cake eating contest at the Hedgehog Hullabaloo. If you wish to take part, please arrive at 2:30 p.m. on Saturday. Whoever eats and drinks the most gets to stay in Apple Pie Lane. Yours, Miss Kettlepops." Harry and I delivered the letter. With a glint in his eye, Mr Snodgrass said,
"Count me in. I'm very partial to rock cakes and ginger beer."
Saturday soon came around, and when we arrived at Miss Kettlepops' cottage, we found the front garden was entirely decorated with flags and bunting. A table was laid, and in the middle stood a very tall pyramid of rocks. There were also 2 jugs of ginger beer and some glasses. Mr Snodgrass stood at one end of the table and Miss Kettlepops at the other. A crowd of neighbours had also gathered to watch. Harry blew a whistle and Mr Snodgrass stuffed 2 big cakes into his mouth. He looked just like a hamster. Miss Kettlepops ate her cake daintily and sipped her ginger beer. "Hurry, hurry!" Harry and I shouted. We really didn't want Mr Snodgrass to win the contest. He guzzled his ginger beer and ate his cake so fast that a mountain of crumbs began to pile up. Suddenly, 2 big crows swooped down, landed on Mr Snodgrass's shoulders and pecked furiously at the crumbs on his shirt. Mr Snodgrass screeched and whooped, but the birds carried on pecking. Miss Kettlepops threw a jug of ginger beer over Mr Snodgrass to scare off the crows. They flew away, but then the beer attracted a swarm of bees. Mr Snodgrass ran around the garden, flapping and waving his arms at the buzzy bees. Meanwhile, Miss Kettlepops drank the other jug of ginger beer and ate lots of cakes. Mr Snodgrass jumped into the stream to escape the bees. He felt a bit dizzy after his dip, so he sat down on the garden bench. He didn't see Pointy Pete there, rolled up in his favourite spot. Screamed Mr Snodgrass. Pointy's spike stuck into Mr Snodgrass's bottom. So Miss Kettlepops fetched a pack of frozen peas for him to sit on. While he recovered on a bench, Miss Kettlepops ate some more cakes, and before long she'd eaten 8 to Mr Snodgrass's 7. She'd also drank all the remaining ginger beer. Miss Kettlepops had won the contest and the crowd cheered. Miss Kettlepops and the Hedgehog hullabaloo were here to stay. As for Mr Snodgrass, well, Miss Kettlepops said he didn't really have to leave, and she was willing to bet that he was no longer partial to rock cakes and ginger beer. We hope you've enjoyed listening to how Miss Kettlepop saved the day and showed grumpy Mr Snodgrass a thing or two. Mums, dads, grandparents and friends, if you have a story or know of any local children's authors who would like their book read out on our Bedtime Stories feature on the Stone Channel, please do let us know. Just before we go, we've had a special visitor of our own, and I need my special glove to meet them. This is Mrs Tiggywinkles, and she lives in a rescue centre too. Now, if you find a hedgehog in your garden, you can leave them out some cat or dog food and some water and let them be. It's time to go now, so sleep well and we will see you very soon. Thanks for watching.